Anyway, so what I'm here to talk about is I'm going to talk about the web desktop that I have been building. Oh, yeah, legal stuff. I am not an Apple employee. I do not represent Apple. Apple, Macintosh, Mac OS X, I believe, pretty sure, are all trademarks of Apple Incorporated. Does anybody here work at Apple? Apple legal department? Okay, good. Actually, it would be kind of nice. I'd love to talk to them, because I don't want to be sued. Okay, well, there we go. Well, I'll talk to you about it later. So basically what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you a web desktop, open source. Been working on it part-time for the last 2 years. It is basically a bit of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that puts resizable, movable windows inside a web browser. Oh, I'm sorry. And the URL that I flashed up at the beginning, which I'll also put up at the end, has a reference to this, to the PDF of this presentation. Probably should have said that first. Okay, ready to go? Okay. And so it's basically all stock CSS, HTML5, CSS2, JavaScript. Nothing really fancy. The thing that I like about it is that it allows me to relive the glory days of Mac OS X from the good days. It's really cool because it creatively subverts your browser security model. One of the things that's bad about it is that it creatively subverts your browser security model. Works on WebKit. If you can get it to work on Firefox, more power to you. Anybody here from Microsoft? I'd love to talk to somebody about IE, figure out what the heck's going on in IE. Yeah, but the main thing that I really want to do, one of the reasons that I like to come to this conference is that I keep thinking about accessibility and desktop apps. And I think that this is replicating an environment where we can do experiments about accessibility in a kind of rapid prototype-y kind of environment, and then we can apply that to web desk or to desktop apps. I'm going to ask, towards the end, I'm going to ask for help. I just need people to, just look at it, tell me what you think. I've got some docs that I'm going to push out to the repo over the next week, and I'm going to ask people to, please try and write a Hello World app. Tell me how my tutorial doesn't, really work. And actually, let me just go ahead and show you. I've talked about it. First, we're going to look at it in Chrome, assuming, oh, yeah, I changed screen resolution. And what? I'm sorry?
Green button. Your window. Maximize your window.
Upper left corner.
Like your browser window, just click the green button in the head.
I don't have a green button. Oh, that green button. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I'm not actually a Mac OS X person.
Me neither.
I used Next Step back in the day, but
Is your first name like a contraction of several names?
what?
Is your first name a contraction of several names?
No, it's the Irish spelling of Maeve.
Oh, top of the morning.
So anyway, oh my God, that's so offensive. This is a web page.
Must be in the CSS. It's a new CSS. Oh, wow.
So does anybody here remember the 1984 hello? So we speak some Spanish in my house, so it's hola. Oh my God, and this is the version where I demonstrate that I don't know how to do exclamation points in Spanish. And, oh, yeah, okay. Still got some bugs. And there's some display issues. Oh, what I'm trying to show is okay. We have desktop accessories. And I also used to own an Amiga, if anybody can recognize this jumbled thing. So there's one thing that I wanted to point out with the notepad. So what you can do, oops, well, no, you can't do that on this Mac because I don't have it set up correctly. Nope, still doesn't do it. Oh well. But if I reload it, it'll lose context. It's set up to lose context on a reload. But it did actually come back. Oh. And let's do that. Go back here. So I'm making extensive use of local storage. And so basically what I've done is I've got a mix of server-side and client-side JavaScript, a framework to do, quote-unquote applications. And an application is simply a bit of JavaScript code that is inside a window. Boy, this shouldn't shock anyone. It's designed to work in this environment with this, with a menu up at top and a root window. You can use it in other environments where you don't have a root window, don't have a menu. If you wanted to have, I have a friend who used this code to emulate a IRIX desktop from 1994 or something. So if you wanted to relive the wonder of the Jurassic Park movie, you can do that. And one of the things that I wanted to show, but contractually I'm not allowed to, is a company that I work with is building appliances based on Raspberry Pis, and we've included this as the basis of their administrative interface. So instead of having to hook it up to the device up to a screen, you just turn it on, plug it into a network, go to it remotely, and it's got a web interface. And instead of a traditional web app, you have something that looks like a traditional web app inside one of these windows. And you also have like an environment where you can have like a little notepad off to the side or something like that. And this is basically it. And we're only 15 minutes into it. And at this point, I kind of wanted to ask people, how do I make this accessible? No, seriously, I have some ideas on APIs. I've written a couple APIs to try to interface this with various screen readers. Doesn't work. I'm also trying to recruit people to help me with this, to maybe look at the code, give some opinions as to how we could modify it. It's just that my experience with accessibility technology is really pretty minimal. Oh, there's someone in the back.
So, looking at the code.
I did some of that, and there's a branch on the repo that included some of that, and it failed miserably. So, I may have to go back and reread about and do a little more experimentation on how WebKit handles tabbing, because one of the things I have noticed is that yes, okay. But the thing is that it's not that much worse than recent versions of IE or recent versions of Firefox. Although Firefox, I haven't tried it with Opera, and there's probably some Opera guys here, so I might try to corner them.
Yeah, there are a couple
Yeah, and I mean, and this is something that I do like every day, all day. And in fact, what my desktop looks like 98% of the time is this. Yeah. Yeah.
If you've got like a header in your div,
Yeah, so it's all.
put the headers as actual heading things.
Like, oh yeah, okay. So one of the things.
Do header navigation, right?
Yeah, right. So
That header bar.
yeah, the menu bar. Yeah, that is.
Find that in the header navigation.
Yeah, everything here is in a div, just because I wanted to be able to independently, absolutely position it. And
Yeah, so headings and links are things that we can natively move to and form buttons.
okay, right.
The buttons should be buttons.
And haven't gotten there yet. It's
Because that'll probably get you a long way.
well, it's kind of interesting. What people said that they really wanted when I showed, or 50% of the people who I know who spent time with a classic Mac, when they see this, they say, "Oh, do you have HyperCard?" And so that's actually going to be my next project, is getting a HyperCard alike working on this. A HyperCard-esque web application working in an environment like this, that compiles something that looks like HyperTalk into JavaScript and makes a valiant effort to try to add some form of application security. Also, I should also add that we applied the web CSP, the content. I can't even remember what CSP stands for. It didn't help. CSP is unfortunately very easy to. It is sort of a best effort. It's very easy to avoid, to do the wrong thing with CSP, is unfortunately. And that's the other. There's two aspects of this that I'm really trying to get my brainstem around. One is accessibility. The other is security. And both of them are, in modern web browsers are, okay, I'm almost at the point where instead of continuing with a web browser, I'm going to build a Node application that binds to the SDL library. Does everyone know what SDL is? It's called Simple Direct Layer, and it's just a simple graphics layer. You can build Node applications that run on a client that draw things on the screen. So it's sort of like having a canvas, a JavaScript canvas in a web browser, except that you don't have the web browser. All you have is Node. So it's Node directly to the screen. I'm almost to the point where I'm going to give up on web browsers and put all of this into, SDL. Yeah. Well, it's yes, but I mean I might want to do that just simply for experimental reasons. Oh, really? Really? Okay.
Well, you need some kind of doctrine. You need some kind
Oh God, I will argue with you. I.
No, you won't argue with me. I'll get you an argument with Victor, okay? If you want to do accessibility, you need a tree.
Oh, okay. Well, no. Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's like I have no problem having a tree, but not having it be the DOM, because currently I think the DOM is overloaded in terms of what it does.
But because that's the thing that things are relying on, you somehow got to map. At least,
Well,
you don't have to build a complete DOM.
Yep.
You can map a bunch of objects.
it's a good point. That's a very good point. You could create.
So that canvas does it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. I see what
A
you're.
few objects that are the things you need to be able to find, and you make those normal HTML objects because that's what accessibility systems.
Oh, right. And then yeah.
And
Okay. So you create something. So you may not necessarily use a native full DOM, but you create enough of the DOM that all of that's okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I came here. But, yeah. Because the other thing is, it's actually as nasty as this stuff looks on the side. For whatever reason, earlier in the day, when it was at a different resolution, it looked even nastier. And that's partially due to minor variations in the way things render between platforms. There's one of the things I discovered is that with Chrome, with the same version of Chrome, on 2 different versions of Mac OS X, you get different artifacts on the screen, which is really irritating, because I was trying to produce something that's, bit accurate. And another thing that one person could do is, or that you could do with this is just draw it into a canvas, and I've thought about that as well. But then you have the well, no, you could draw it into
You draw the canvas and
but
build
then-
a tree that sits underneath it, which
exactly.
has some objects that,
right,
so
which
your canvas reads out. Essentially, you say, take your top menu, right? And you've got
yeah, and you could
this is an HTML button, right?
right. Yeah, and however you render it, yeah, and
This is a link, and then how you render it is up to you. But
yeah,
if
and you could
make that a link and a link.
yeah, and you could have the
Long
model.
way to
Yeah.
actually getting.
Yeah, you could have the model actually be something, different, like a JSON or a object or a JavaScript object, and just render the DOM into the canvas, and then render.
But
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the heading, and
Okay.
this is just CSS to make it put lines on it.
Okay. So yeah, cool.
There are a bunch of things you could do that would make it, because they're divs now, right? Which is like,
Yeah. Yeah, right. And I mean, this is one of the
you can't navigate a div structure,
right, and the
whereas a heading structure or a link structure.
right, and this is kind of the problem. Well, the problem with the web right now is that on one side we have the Semantic Web camp that says, hey, all of your markup should be semantically significant, and the other side you've got people that have product managers that are coming at them saying, no, I want that to be blue. No, I want that 5 pixels left. I want and yeah.
No. Fly through 3D views and
Oh yeah, absolutely. Blink tag. I did not replicate the blink tag. Anyway, yes.
So how do you handle authentication for their node files?
Right now, there is no authentication.
So those are public, they're wide
These are
open.
public remote files.
so if I was editing that, I could actually go and change your stuff now.
Yeah, you could. You totally could. But although Webdav is shut off on this server, I did actually start to work on a Webdav thing, and you know how things are. You get something that works, you get 50% of the way into the next project, and then you realize how you did the last project wrong, so you have to recode everything. And so that's like that's another one of the feature branches that's in this repo. But yeah, I'm just really excited that I got the windowing working right, and and there's another. Every now and again, WebKit loses context loses its, doesn't understand the CSS that's supposed to apply to that div. And yes. Well, I made something that looked like a chooser, and then I started reading the Xerox versus Apple, the notes from the Xerox v. Apple, and there was some commentary about the chooser, so I decided not to pursue that. Although you can actually print this through the native print, and it will produce something that kind of mostly looks like the page. Oh, actually, hold up. Well, okay, and it doesn't do it on this one. On my Linux box, it will actually produce something.
Not a native print.
Yeah. So, whoops. So there's still definitely a lot of work to do. It's very early. If this is the type of thing that you find interesting, get in on the ground floor. Oh, absolutely. This is a forward-looking statement. And I think I had 1 or 2 more slides, just to. Right, and this is what I wanted to say about the future. So I did a bunch of other web projects. There was one that was, is anybody here familiar with VoodooPad for the Macintosh? it's a local wiki. So you start typing and you say, oh, I want this to be a different page. You highlight the text and say link, and it creates something that, a structure that's kind of like a wiki. I did one of those for the web. So I want to integrate that kind of thing into this environment. But in order to do that, I want to have better local storage options and also to integrate with Git. I have a friend who built some JavaScript client libraries to treat local storage as a local Git repo, and it does the Git HTTP protocol over to a Git repo, so you can actually type in your application here locally, say commit, and it will push it up to your Git repo. So that's something I'm going to try and get working. We already discussed, why use the browser, and it sounds like don't completely avoid the DOM. Maybe create a different browser that's completely brain dead, except for how to maybe do some plugins and export enough of the DOM so that a screen reader can interface with it.
Yeah, the browser gives you a bunch of features and
Okay.
stuff that are useful. The further you go down the stack, the more work you've got to do to build up.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding out. I've got some. Yeah. And then, and this is the one that if anybody's from Apple here, this is the one, it's like, as we all know, you can't, you don't get to claim IP protection on look and feel. And the other thing that I did want to point out is if you wanted to use this and you're kind of freaked out about, the Apple look of it, it's actually all styled. I've built an IRIX theme, or someone else built the IRIX theme, and I built a kind of Microsoft-y, Windows-ish, kinda, but not enough that I think anybody would want to see me. And like I said, it's like you can use this to do Windows doesn't have to be in this web page. It should work, and it has worked. I've tested it. It does work. In just include the JavaScript references, call the code to initialize the library, and it will, you tell it what your quote unquote root window is, and it'll put a window up. This slide used to say, "Are you high?" And unfortunately, I live in Santa Cruz, so people just assumed I was.
I like the blink tag.
Yes, I did not do the blink tag.
I like the blink tag.
And this is another important thing. Please, if you have any development chops at all, or know anybody that does, please convince them to look at this and send me emails telling me I'm stupid, or because to really figure out how stupid I really am, you have to actually read the code. And if I can get you to read the code, I've won. And yeah, that's basically it. That's so. Any comments, questions? All right, thanks. And also, John's not here, but I did want to thank John for his support over the years, mostly moral support, because I think this is fun and cool. And when I was sort of discouraged, John was, "No, that stuff's cool." So, anyway. I've used several, and actually the one that really got me to think about this one was Carbon, which was an independent product that went into alpha. There was a small community of users who were alpha testers, and then they got bought by Synology, I think, a company that did like NAS solutions, and they just integrated the technology into their NAS solution, and they didn't open source it, they didn't do anything like that. And I was waiting for these Carbon guys to publish so I could build apps for it. And then when they got bought, I was like, oh man, what am I gonna do?
Did you ever ask them?
Yeah, I did, and they were like, yeah, No, it's like we paid for the code, it's ours, go away. And I think the original guys were like, I think most of them, I don't know, I don't want to speculate really, but it did not sound like, it sounded like rewriting it was going to be a lot easier. And Bill and I worked at a company that did something not exactly similar, but kind of similar, JavaScript-based user interfaces, but for a mobile platform. And obviously we couldn't reuse that work. Although actually, hold on, we probably could have, now that I think about it. But I don't know.
You mean the old home screen?
Yeah, that stuff.
That was
But
based on their own version of JavaScript.
oh, you're kidding. Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, well.
That was one of the problems.
Oh.
It was a hack to get the JavaScript.
So I use Chrome on Linux. Chrome on Windows is probably the next best renderer. Chrome on Mac OS X is surprisingly, I don't want to say bad things about it because I understand what the constraints are. But it seems, so what I'll say is that it seems like the rendering technology underlying the Mac OS X version of Chrome is different enough that the stuff that I'm doing makes it look suboptimal. So what I need to do is I need to spend a little bit more time investigating that so I can figure out how to change my code to make it look not as bad on Safari on Safari and Chrome on Mac OS X. I mean, because surprisingly, it's the operating system that's. I've tried Firefox. Firefox works. Everything on this works except for the styled scroll bars, because Firefox doesn't support that, and they're apparently never going to support it, because I was told I was stupid. Yeah. So there's what is it? Remote desktop. What are the? Microsoft has their remote desktop, and then VNC. Thank you. Yes.
I think you're talking about something different.
Are you talking more about like doing X protocol, or more like screencasting, like
Well, I think
the?
the way he's thinking about it is that port 80 gets through the firewall crash.
Well, yeah. Well, and sadly, I do.
Yeah.
I do a fair amount of that. I'm not proud. I mean,
That's one reason why you do
especially
not false stuff.
yeah, especially considering the fact that like I was like a security developer at Mozilla, and I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to encourage people to do that.
You're not supposed to encourage, you're supposed to do it.
Yeah,
That can't be done.
but yeah, and that's how I knew how to get around all of the content protection. So like the next thing here, let me show you some of the. Go over to.
So there was something in the blurb about this. You use this with Raspberry Pis and something.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And that was what I was hoping to show, but at the last minute, it's like the guys who actually paid me to do that said, please don't show it. But the reason they said that is that the thing that I was going to show off had some of their IP integrated with some stuff that is already open sourced. So we're just going to have to split it up. Yeah. I might be able to get away with turning it on and giving a few people who are interested the IP address or something. And hold on, up, down, left, right, A, B.
So can you
Hold on.
make sure what's your CPU's password?
What? Up.
So you did your left, right.
Oh, that's.
Localization. Right?
No, that's my. No, that's my. This is my vanity page. And if you go to if you do up, down, left, right, A, B, it gives you, the fun.
Who was talking about ASCII art and pages?
And then,
The
so this is
accessibility.
the web terminal that I made, and yeah, and this is the demo for the web terminal, and this is going to be the next thing that I add. But in theory, and what I'm going to try to demonstrate is that in theory, there should be no reason that you couldn't put a canvas in one of those windows.
HTML5 canvas?
Yeah, just an HTML5 canvas. Yeah, this is actually HTML5 canvas. I have another version that goes directly to the DOM, and has its own set of issues. But but once you do that, once you can do that, there should be no reason that you couldn't do through plugins do VNC. Because that's where I want to go with this eventually, is that one of the things that Carbon said that they were going to allow you to do, that I wanted to do, was something that I was able to do with X Windows in the early 90s, which is have a virtual desktop and connect an actual desktop to that virtual desktop from multiple different locations. So when I'm at work, I have my context, which is all of my windows open. I leave that desktop, I go home, I VPN in, and then attach to that virtual desktop again. Now the problem with doing that on X Windows is that X Windows over a VPN over long distance networks is will eventually make you want to shoot yourself. Yeah. It would solve a lot of problems. And so now it's like, well, hey, we're all about the web, right? So let's do this over the web. And that was kind of where I was going with this. So that's kind of going to be the next thing I do. And I'd love to make something that was equivalent to GIMP on with HTML5, just because I think that would be really, really cool. I don't think I'm necessarily qualified to do that, but I'm not an expert in graphics applications. So
Those graphics came out pretty good.
oh, that's because yeah. Yeah, and that's because it's really easy to put fonts letters into canvases. So yeah, constant width, it's beautiful. So oh God. Oh, yeah, that's kind of a good point. And then the other thing is that I've I go back and forth as to whether or not I prefer SSH or HTTPS.
Well, it was interesting, I was reading all this.
But it's really hard to do SSH. You'd have to do like a connect or something over, or something like that, and that's, yeah. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut down. And so I was able to talk for 45 minutes. That's